Okay. I think, all right, Anuj, your golden words we missed. There's always a problem, but we have someone better even to answer that question. Joining us now is Rasesh Shah, the head of the Edelweiss Group. Good morning, Rasesh. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, that's the discussion we were having. Liquidity has really stolen a march over macros. And recovery is somehow faltering. We seem to have done well in June, but we fell back in July. Regardless, do you think that the markets are in such a mood of so pumped up by liquidity that you would seriously look at 11,000 and maybe before the end of the year 12,000?
See, I think the markets are not looking at short-term economic indicators, because I think most of the investors are now saying post-COVID. If you see what happened in March and April, there was a lot of panic. Nobody knew how this will end. And fortunately, with liquidity and all, the short-term pressures have eased off. So I think in the short term, the market is looking at least saying liquidity will ease off the pressure and will not allow any accidents to happen. But in the medium term, everybody feels that there will be an end to COVID, maybe December, maybe Jan, Feb, and everybody is looking at post-COVID. So in a way, I think most people have written off FY21 from all economic indicators, whether GDP growth, corporate earnings point of view. But most investors are now all over the world looking at post-COVID. And I think post-COVID, there is a sense of optimism that I think if you can manage the short term, which we are doing with liquidity, I think in the medium term to long term, as COVID gets over, I think economy will bounce back.
Give me the next question. If you can manage the short term. Now you tell us how things are at your end. I was just looking at the NBFC 1-year CP. Even that has fallen to 4.7% yield. So, how much money do you need for this short term of, say, up until December or March? And is that liquidity available?
It's available. I think the key indicator to watch no longer is the commercial paper, because commercial paper is a very small market now as compared to what it was 18 months ago. And most of the borrowers in commercial paper are AAA rated companies and government companies and all, mainly because I think commercial paper has an uncertainty of rollover. So no NBFC which will use commercial paper for any even medium term financing, because you don't know whether markets will get worse and you won't be able to roll over. So most NBFCs have decided until things stabilize, commercial paper is not a reliable source of funding for them. It's there for emergency, but I think emergency has got managed over the last 18 months. I think the key one to watch is the 1 to 2 year or maybe the 1 to 3 year bond of NBFCs. Their yields have fallen, but not as much as what you are seeing in commercial paper. And I think that's the key indicator of the bond markets coming back. I think the bond markets are still fairly dislocated. And on liquidity, I would say there are two parts of liquidity. I think one is essential liquidity, which makes sure that everybody is able to pay their obligations and all that. I think has improved and has been under control for the last 18 months in spite of the lot of pressures on that.
What about Edelweiss's situation, Rasesh? The governor raised this issue. That's why I'm asking.
No, absolutely. I think all of us have been for example, we used to maintain about 10 to 12% of our borrowing as liquidity. For the last 18 months, we have maintained 18 to 20% of our borrowing as liquidity. So I think everybody is holding a lot more liquidity, but it's coming at the cost of growth, coming at the cost of earnings. So I think essential liquidity is in place, but growth liquidity is not in place yet, even for NBFCs.
Okay, growth liquidity is not in place yet. Rasesh, good morning. So can you give us exactly the numbers? What is the liquidity situation that Edelweiss is sitting on right now? Do you have enough liquidity to sustain any kind of ALM mismatch till the end of the year?
So, what had happened to us and all the NBFCs, there was no inherent ALM mismatch for the last 1 year. I think initially people were using commercial paper, but by March 2019, as commercial paper had been repaid and all, there was no essential ALM mismatch. What has happened in the last 3-4 months is customer contractual inflows because of the COVID and the moratorium and all have come down. As a result of that, there is a gap. Like in our case, we have said that gap was about 4,000 crores is what we estimated between April to September. We came into March, end of March, we had 8,000 crores of liquidity. So we did 8,000 crores of liquidity and 4,000 was COVID impacted ALM mismatch. Because of COVID, you were still covered, and out of this 4,000, we have got lines from banks. We have been able to raise about 2,500 crore, and we are hoping that we raise another 1,500, so that what was the COVID related impact is neutralized by the fresh fundraising, and we go back to our liquidity. But we came into March with 8,000 crores of liquidity because of COVID impact for everybody, because of the moratorium. So there was no inherent ALM mismatch, but obviously we all have offered moratorium to our clients, and as a result of that, there was a gap in inflows and outflows.
Okay. So, I mean, this is the problem. If the guys in moratorium are not paying back to you, or those who have given you, public deposits are asking back ahead of time, are you prepared for that? That's the question Sonia was asking. As well, I mean, do you have any capital raising plans therefore?
So I think on that ALM, we have been last 18 months, we've been maintaining whatever is our need for the next 365. We've been holding that. In normal times, we were holding about 80 to 100 days, about 3 months. What you hold after ILFS, we all have, and actually, fortunately, it's a good thing that COVID happened post ILFS. I think 18 months COVID ILFS happened, everybody improved their liquidity buffers. Everybody. The liquidity reserves. So I think we are okay with that. On capital raising, as you know, Edelweiss is a diversified company. So in credit, we are okay. We have capital adequacy of 21%, liquidity is okay. But for our advisory businesses, asset management and wealth management and even insurance, we need to raise capital. So we have indicated that we will raise about 1,500 odd crores in those businesses for the growth of those businesses.
Now, if you can tell us about asset quality, how has the LAP book behaved? And even moratorium itself, what's the percentage?
So when we started, Lata, in April, moratorium was fairly high because of two reasons. I think one was there was so much shock that everybody was just holding back liquidity, and also a lot of people thought that the moratorium is equal to interest waiver, because unfortunately there is no actually Hindi word for moratorium. So when you deal with a lot of retail clients and SMEs and all, nobody understands what is a moratorium. It's either maafi, which is, an interest waiver kind of a, so we have all invested a lot in educating clients. We have done more than 5,000 calls every day with our clients, explaining to them how this will work out and all. So in April, the percentage of a retail portfolio which was under moratorium was about 43-44%. By June, this has come down to 28%. So we are seeing a steady improvement as economy is opening up, but as customers are also getting educated that moratorium doesn't mean they won't pay interest on that. So a lot of customers who have the cash are opting to pay it off and maybe avail of fresh credit facilities which banks are giving. And banks have a COVID emergency line. There is an MSME Atmanirbhar line. So I think as these schemes have rolled out in June, we have seen a huge improvement in customers asking for moratorium.
So the percentages?
As I said, in April we were at 45. By June we are down to 28.
And the LAP book?
So the LAP book is also part of this, because a large part of the LAP book is also SME and business loans, which are collateralized with properties. So this all falls part of that. So it's 28% in June. We are hoping it improves even further as economy improves and as banks are disbursing to a lot of SMEs and others and under these new schemes of the government.
What is your best guidance then on both asset quality, what may be your GNPA, and therefore your provisioning, your credit cost?
See, I think overall credit cost for all of us in retail used to be about 80 to 100 basis point. If you look at banks, you look at most NBFCs, of course, depends. If you have a home loan portfolio, it is lower. It was 30-40 basis point. If you have an unsecured portfolio, it was higher by 200-250 basis point. But average NBFC, and for us also, the credit cost on retail portfolios used to be 80 to 100 basis points, between 0.8 to 1% of your portfolio. I think across the industry, we should be prepared for a doubling of that. So I think most likely credit cost will go up from 1% to 2% per year for the next 2 years, for FY21 and for FY22. So overall 2 percentage points increase in the credit cost. And if you look at it, most banks are doing capital raising, and banks' capital raising is also equal to between 2 to 3% of their asset portfolio. So I think most people are saying if impairment is to be between 1 to 2 or 2 to 3%, we should start raising equity for that. And that is what we also done last year we have raised more than 1,400 crores of equity. And as I said, we are raising another 1,500 crores of equity in our advisory business. So I think idea is to be prepared. There will be impairment. Fortunately for us, our retail book is very small. Our entire retail book is only about 8,000 crore. So about 1% of that will be 80 crores. So I think if your normal credit cost was 100 basis point, it will go up to 200 basis point for industry as a whole is our estimate.
So when you say there will be impairments, what could the quantum be? Because in Q4, the impairments that you took on account of COVID was about 900 crores. You took an additional impairment.
Lucky day when it comes to telecom lines. Rasesh, those two schemes of the government were of any use to you? That one was the short-term 90-day, and the other one was that portfolio purchase.
The short-term 90-day not much, because as I said, we are all holding enough reserves that we don't need for the short-term. It obviously eases off some cash flow imbalances. But I think the more important scheme has been the partial credit guarantee scheme, which I think has been very well designed and executed by the banks also very well. So we have availed of that because, as I said, there was a COVID-related shortfall that we had because we didn't get automatic moratorium. So I think the PCG scheme has been good. But what has also been good for our clients has been the 3 lakh crore MSME Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme, because that has been very good for a lot of SME customers, and that has helped all of us because as clients, cash flow. But the partial credit guarantee and the LTRO from RBI have been good schemes which have been useful for NBFCs.
Okay. Well, Rasesh, yesterday we broke the story that SEBI has appointed a committee to look at the liquidity position of debt mutual funds. I mean, it's going to look at liquidity and other issues as well. But, would you say that all open-ended debt schemes should have a minimum 10% exposure to liquid assets? That looks like one of the terms of reference.
Good, because ultimately it all comes to what I call ALM management. See, basically in any credit instrument, any fixed income instrument, there is a credit risk and there is a liquidity risk. I think in India we have seen credit risk is okay. I think banks have taken huge NPAs over the last 5 years. It's not been good, but it's been manageable. I think the ALM risk is where the problems are, and I think our markets are not deep enough, especially the bond markets. And this is also a good time to go back and see how we want the bond market, because at times like this, when even AA rated paper is not in April we saw that even AA rated paper was not being traded and there was no liquidity in that. How do people plan for that? So I think the mutual funds have to go back, the debt schemes have to go back and look at their ALM strategies, and SEBI should come out with some guidelines on what kind of ALM to be managed, because RBI has that for banks. If RBI has that for banks, I think SEBI will have to have it for mutual funds, because being an open-ended, overnight, NAV-driven fund, it's very important to manage your liquidity also.
No, actually, many of the things, stress testing, everything is what Reserve Bank does for banks. That seems to be the terms of reference of this committee. And the committee has a lot of bankers, actually. Ananda Ryan is an ex-bank, NS Venkatesh is an ex-banker. So maybe you're going to see some of those issues borrowed. But Rasesh, we are running out of time. The big question I wanted to ask you is what Uday Kotak said on our channel, that the amount of extra NPAs could be 4 to 5 lakh crore at the end of COVID. You would agree with that figure, and would you worry that a large number could come from real estate and therefore even NBFCs who lend to real estate?
Actually, if you see, wholesale has not got that deteriorated, because wholesale last 4 years post demonetization, then GST, especially in real estate, RERA, after the implementation of the new law, plus ILFS, after ILFS, I think wholesale has got stress tested a lot more pre-COVID. So I think the larger worry is on the retail portfolio, especially unsecured retail portfolio, which are usually short-term also there, so ability to catch up is not there, and where the collateral is not there. So I would say the larger impact will be on credit assets which are non-collateralized, unsecured, and which are shorter term. Like if you have a home loan which is a 8-year loan, and there has been stress for this on cash flow for this 1 year, you can add it to the tenure of the loan and manage it, and there is underlying home value and all. So collateralized portfolios in the longer term loans will be able to manage. The shorter term will have some challenges. I think 4 to 5 lakh crore NPA would be about 4 to 5% of the total credit assets in the system. The total credit assets are 100 lakh crore, to 4 to 5 lakh crore is 4 to 5%. And if you look at, say, a loss given default of 40-50%, then you are looking at a real credit loss of 2.5 lakhs, which, as I said, if spread out over 2.5 years, which about 1% of the total credit portfolio. So I think the eventual loss will be for the next 2 years about 1% of the total credit portfolio across the industry, and that is why the industry needs to raise money. Most banks are raising between 2 to 4% of their asset portfolios. So if a bank has 5 lakh crores of assets, that bank is trying to raise equity of 10 to 15,000 crores, and that is in anticipation of this estimate only. So I think broadly all these estimates lead us to that point only, that most people will have to take additional impairment of about or additional credit cost of about 1% of their portfolios for next 2 years, FY21 and FY22.
That's incremental. Yes, Rasesh, it was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much for fielding so many questions about the sector and for Edelweiss itself.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I think we'll take a break.